Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you've been following the structured path toward financial independence, you've already done some serious heavy lifting.
A lot of it, yeah.
You've internalized that identity of the asset owner, you've locked down your vision, and you've built this really robust, resilient structure.
Absolutely. And for anyone navigating the three-stage strategy, what we call the golden path, we've covered a huge amount of ground.
We really have.
We went through all of stage one, perception, the asset owner identity, that powerful vision.
Right.
Then we really secured stage two, the resilience stage. So financial mapping, budgeting, stabilization, saving.
The emergency fund, debt management, automation.
And full protection, exactly. And just recently we kicked off stage three, growth, with your first asset and diversifying your income streams.
And that systematic approach, that sequential movement from mindset to mechanics and then to deployment. That's what really makes this path different.
It is.
And before we get into this next critical step, I think we need to be very clear about the strategic context here. The three-stage strategy for building financial independence was originated by Tamir Khaham. He's the one who designed this whole sequential, systems-based process. And it came from his own journey, really. From dependence to acting as a responsible capital manager.
Right. And today we're focusing on step 13, which is focused and continuous learning. But like you said at the start, this isn't a step you just, complete and check off a list.
Yeah.
This is more like the strategic foundation, the permanent operating system that makes all the previous 12 steps work and protects them and really ensures the success of everything that comes next.
So the mission for this deep dive is to establish what feels like a non-negotiable truth. If you take financial action without firms understanding what you're doing,
you're just introducing massive risk.
Catastrophic risk into your system. We're talking about a commitment to learning before you commit your capital.
And to really crystallize why this is so vital, especially for you as the asset owner who is managing capital responsibly, we have to look at this core insight from the source material, this quote. It really defines our entire conversation today.
Okay.
Most people lose money in investments. Not because of bad luck, not because the market is unfair, but for one simple reason. They act without understanding the game they're playing. Money is a language, and those who don't speak it pay those who do.
Okay, let's unpack that. I mean, that really challenges the story a lot of people tell themselves, doesn't it? They blame external things, a market crash, the unfair housing market,
always,
for their financial setbacks. So what does it mean that most losses are actually controllable? That they come from not understanding the game?
Well, it connects directly back to that asset owner identity. You are a responsible capital manager.
Right.
Think about it this way. If you are managing a huge construction project, would you authorize buying some specialized piece of equipment without understanding how it works, its limitations, its maintenance?
Of course not.
No, right. And the financial system is. It's exponentially more complex than one machine. The sources are so clear on this. Acting without understanding basically guarantees you'll make costly mistakes.
So knowledge isn't just nice to have. It's a tool.
It's a risk mitigation tool. That's all it is. It sharpens your decision-making, and it lets you spot risks far, far earlier than the average person just participating in the market.
That's the difference, isn't it, between being a participant in a game and an operator of a system.
Yes.
If I'm putting capital into, say, a syndicated real estate deal, and I don't get the waterfall structure or the IRR calculation, or even the tax implications, I might think I'm winning when I'm actually losing money to complexity I can't even see.
Exactly. You might have the financial vocabulary, the words mortgage, dividend, expense, but you're missing the financial syntax.
The grammar of money.
The grammar. That's a great way to put it. And that's where this whole analogy of money as a language becomes, I think, really profound. Being financially illiterate isn't just an inconvenience. It's actively expensive.
Tell me a bit more on that, the vocabulary versus the syntax.
So financial vocabulary means, you can balance your checkbook. You understand what interest on a debt is. It's the basics we covered back in stage 2.
The resilience stage.
Right. But the syntax, that's the ability to construct complex, optimized financial sentences. It's understanding the relationship between, say, international tax treaties and your investments, or the precise structure of an options contract, or how a tiny change in inflation guidance affects your entire bond portfolio.
That sounds less like general knowledge and more like specialized engineering.
It is. It really is. And the sources stress that if you don't achieve that fluency, if you only speak the vocabulary, you end up paying the people who've mastered the syntax.
Wow.
You pay in fees because you don't know about the low-cost alternatives. You pay in missed opportunities because you can't read the macroeconomic signs. You pay in taxes you didn't need to pay because you don't understand optimization strategies. The asset owner has to move from being a participant to being a fluent engineer of their own capital.
And this ties back to that danger of skipping steps, the whole lottery winner analogy. When someone gets wealth, without first building this internal knowledge, this identity,
The system just self-destructs, inevitably.
the knowledge base is the structural integrity. It's what makes wealth actually stick.
Precisely. The system doesn't fail because the market took the money. It fails because the internal operating system of the asset owner hadn't been upgraded to handle that level of complexity.
You can't put a Formula One engine in a golf cart chassis.
You can't. The structure won't hold the power. Knowledge and identity, that's stage 1 and step 13. They are the reinforcements you have to build before you deploy capital at scale.
That changes the whole picture. It's not about how much you get, but about the strength of the management software you're running inside.
So if we accept that, if we agree that learning saves us from mistakes, we have to address the next piece. Why can't this just be a one-time thing? Why does it have to be permanent?
Right, because the world doesn't stand still.
It refuses to stand still.
This is that shift from learning to start to learning to sustain. We're not in a closed system. The rules, the players, the tech, it's all constantly in flux.
That is the central strategic challenge. The financial reality is incredibly dynamic. I mean, just think about the last decade.
So much has changed.
Regulatory frameworks from the 20th century are trying to play catch-up with things like digital assets and tokenomics. AI and automation are fundamentally changing how we analyze investments. And the inflation and interest rate environments, they're constantly shifting the risk on assets we used to think were safe, like long-term bonds.
So if my whole wealth system was built on the tax code from 5 years ago,
You're already exposed.
I've got blind spots today. My old knowledge has expired.
It absolutely has. What was once a stable, optimized structure can become fragile just because the asset owner didn't update their understanding of reality. If you're only relying on what you learned during your initial stabilization phase, you will miss critical shifts. Changes to retirement contribution limits, new tax treaties, new technologies, you'll miss it all.
Okay, so if learning isn't just a phase 1 thing, if it's a permanent requirement, how do you learn effectively? I mean, there's so much information out there. How do you separate the noise from the signal?
The source material is very strict on this. It defines effective learning with 4 criteria. It has to be focused, intentional, time-bound, and action-oriented.
Not passive.
Never passive. Passively scrolling through financial headlines in your newsfeed, that's just entertainment. It's not strategy.
So what does that look like in practice? How do you turn an hour of just passive reading into strategic, focused learning?
It means you dedicate a specific time-bound slot, let's say 1 hour every Monday morning, and it's for intentional study. You're not just reading broadly. You're researching a specific risk factor in your own portfolio.
For example?
So for instance, if you have a lot of real estate, you might dedicate that hour to reading briefs on proposed municipal changes to property taxes or changes to depreciation rules.
So the learning is targeted. It's aimed right at a known weak point or maybe a new growth area that's relevant to your actual strategy.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's action-oriented. You study that tax law change for an hour, and the action you take is to call your accountant and confirm the impact on your next filing.
So the learning always leads to a decision or an action.
It has to. That ensures that every decision, every capital deployment is managed with the most current, relevant understanding you can get. That's how you maximize success and minimize that knowledge-based risk we were talking about.
This sounds like a job that never really ends.
Yeah.
Is the work of an asset owner ever truly done?
Never. And to really drive this point home, we can look at the ultimate proof point for the Golden Path, and that's the personal commitment of its creator, Tamir Khaham.
Right.
His story really validates this whole principle of continuous, relentless education as the engine that preserves and grows wealth.
It's one thing to say it, but it's another to see someone who's achieved that independence still living it. A lot of people might just, manage what they have and call it a day.
But his approach is completely different. We have to state this very clearly. Even now, at age 67, the creator of this strategy, Tamir Khaham, is still learning. He's actively exploring new opportunities.
And it's not a hobby.
No, it's a strategic imperative for him.
What's so hard about learning at that stage after you've already had massive success?
I think it takes a kind of strategic humility. At 67, Khaham looked at the systems that built his wealth, which were mostly established, equity markets, traditional real estate, and he realized they might not be enough for the coming decades. He needed a system upgrade.
So what did that upgrade look like for him specifically?
He started seriously studying digital assets, distributed ledgers, tokenomics, completely new asset classes that force you to rethink everything about risk and value. And his plan is to expand his public work beyond his YouTube channel, The Golden Path to Financial Independence, to reflect this new learning.
So he hasn't stopped.
He has not stopped learning about wealth creation since his entire shift in consciousness back at age 45.
That's the real takeaway then. Building financial independence isn't a checklist you finish. It's a perpetual process. It's driven by acquiring knowledge and constantly, humbly refining your entire financial system.
The moment you think you know enough, that's the moment you start to fail. And at this point, it's important that we just pause and clarify something essential. This deep dive provides conceptual and strategic content only. It does not constitute financial advice, investment advice, or money management. The host is not acting as a financial advisor. All financial decisions are your own responsibility. And it's important to say this clearly. Just because this approach worked for the creator of this strategy does not mean it will work for you. There are no guarantees. This is a thinking framework. Responsibility for decisions and outcomes always remains with you, the listener.
And that framework is what we're here to explore. We have established that focused and continuous learning isn't just another step, step 13. It's the ultimate parallel strategic principle for you as the asset owner.
It is. Learning is the fuel that sustains every single stage: consciousness, resilience, and growth. And we have to remember, the golden path doesn't stop here. Step 13 just sets the stage for what's next.
Which is
Advanced system building, strategic scaling, long-term optimization, and building that deep resilience against any future shocks. Learning is what makes all of those future, more complex steps even possible.
So the lesson is, it's profound. It's the commitment to being a student of the market, a student of the global system, that keeps the structure you're building robust and adaptable.
You have to be learning faster than the world is changing.
Wow.
That adaptability is the core competitive advantage of the asset owner. If you aren't actively learning, your system is degrading. It's just falling behind the dynamic world around you. So the question we want to leave you with is this: what am I learning right now to specifically protect the stability I've built and to strategically prepare for the growth I want?
And if you can't answer that,
If you can't name a current focus area study, your system is already running on expired knowledge.
if you aren't challenging your own assumptions and educating yourself, you are falling behind. That continuous commitment, it's the non-negotiable requirement for the golden path to work. Join us for the next deep dive, where we'll continue the structured progression of the strategy and move deeper into building those advanced systems.